Hi everyone. Oh, wait. I'm getting requests to be in my video. This is new. Hi everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining. I hope everybody's having a good day. So, as promised, today we will be talking about how to end toxic relationships and also address, the patterns and cyclical and karmic reasons why they might come in our life. So it's a nice Scorpio season topic. We're very deep. And there is the sun, the moon, Jupiter, and Venus in our sign right now. So that hasn't happened in 12 years because Jupiter is in our sign every 12 years. So it's completely normal to be feeling like, whoa, I feel everything on such an intense level, more than usual, and that's a lot for us. It's also the dark of the moon period, and that's the period a few days before the new moon where everything that needs to be released comes to the surface. Our emotions that we tried to repress, our fears, our limiting beliefs, our insecurities. So we're all in this together. You're not crazy. Tomorrow is the new moon, early tomorrow morning, and I am so excited for that. But before we get to the new moon, we have a little bit of purging to do together. So Scorpios are truly the most powerful sign of the zodiac. I know my friends might be watching this and be like, damn, Dose, you're obsessed with yourself. We really need to all be obsessed with ourselves in a positive way to make the world a better place. It's when we're too busy being obsessed with other people, other situations, other drama, that the world becomes dramatic. So Scorpios are leaders because we let our love for ourselves influence the world, which is why we're talked about. Whether we're loved or hated, we're always talked about. So with this toxic relationship conversation, it's kind of like we have to understand that everyone truly is still a mirror of ourselves. So as Scorpios, we have different levels of evolution, and I'll talk about that. So we react to things differently based on which level of evolution we're at. So we are the only sign to have 3 levels. And the symbols, they vary. There are different symbols, but the main, most traditional ones are that the first level of evolution is the scorpion. And that is when, the more stereotypical traits of Scorpios, which is that we can be vengeful and really jealous and suspicious and manipulative and distrustful and very self-protective. So all these, all traits will still resonate to a certain level, but as you evolve, you'll learn about aspects of Scorpios that aren't always traditionally talked about. So the eagle, the second level of evolution, is the more ambitious, social, and independent Scorpio who isn't weighed down by the drama. So the scorpion tends to be more really focused on making sure they can stay safe and they feel like they're always in danger. But the eagle soars beyond the BS and starts to understand that when they focus on their vision, the world can truly be beautiful. And then the third stage of evolution is the phoenix. So the phoenix, beautiful symbol of rebirth and transformation. Beautiful symbol of burning one's ashes, always, always, always starting anew. And we all cycle through these stages, okay? So just, it's normal to sometimes have scorpion-like emotions. It's normal to really feel the euphoria of being an eagle or a phoenix. We cycle through them throughout different stages of our lives. So I needed to let you guys know this because when I talk about toxic relationships, sometimes I'm going to talk about it through the lens of a phoenix. If you're still navigating that, you might at first be like, how is this possible? So I want you to open your minds and really dive into the possibilities of healing as a Scorpio. Okay, so let's get down to it. I also have a handy dandy notebook. The Bloom Freely, our sister Jocelyn, she gave this to me as a birthday gift, so thank you. She was actually one of the first Scorpios who asked me to be on her blog and interviewed me and really supported me from day one. So shout out to you, Jocelyn. Thank you. So yeah, this is such a serious topic that I had to write notes earlier today because I really want to help as much as possible. Okay, all right, let's start. So it's oh yeah, another thing is please go get some water because the dark of the moon period brings up dehydration. Even I just need to take a little water break for a second. So stay hydrated, please. Okay. All right. So the first toxic relationship that needs to be addressed before anything is the one that you have with yourself. So what I mean by that is that, you spend the majority of your life in your own mind, and the thoughts that you are constantly thinking and the kind of energy that you allow into your mind and subconscious influences everything about you. And it influences everything about the world outside of you. So we all look at the world differently. We all grew up differently. So many factors are different. So if you focus on what you can control, which is what you consume, what you feed your mind, then you have a better chance of attracting already relationships that are beneficial for you. However, what I really need everyone to know is that, yes, we live in a society that will still try to control you for their advantage. So what I mean is, yes, media can be very powerful. Like, I feel very blessed to have this platform and to share my message, and I'm going to keep doing so. But there are a lot of things that we consume that are meant to instill fear and instill all of these feelings and anxiety and things that make us feel out of control. So, it's normal sometimes to feel like you have thoughts that are consuming you that aren't healthy for you, because sometimes society tries to normalize that. So what I really suggest is to just spend time, especially with this Scorpio new moon, and really think about the way you speak to yourself. And if you find yourself constantly having thoughts where you're putting yourself down, thoughts where you're comparing yourself to others, thoughts where you don't think you're good enough, thoughts where you think nothing is ever going to work out for you, thoughts where you think no one is ever going to love you, that your situation is so bad that no one ever understands. You need to first address the fact that these thoughts are constant, not judge yourself for having them, and then try to get to the root of why these thoughts consistently come up. So this is not something that's going to, happen overnight. It can take weeks, it can take months, it can take years. Working with a therapist and a counselor often helps. Working and opening up to people often helps. But honestly, just by addressing them, they lose their power. So if you're in denial of them, which sometimes, spiritual world will all be about positive thinking. You guys, it's okay to not always think positive, because life isn't always positive. Life is a cycle of, ebbs and flow. So I really need you guys to make sure that you address these thoughts. If that's something you resonate with, that you've been really hard on yourself and really mean to yourself. Like, would you talk to your friends that way? Like, that's why, the first toxic relationship is one you have with yourself, because if you yourself are being toxic to yourself through the thoughts that you feed yourself, what do you expect other people to do to you? They're just mirroring your own energy. Whew, water break. So it took me some time as well to learn this. So I can be a perfectionist and very self-critical and just look at little details about myself. And so it was important for me to just calm down and just be kinder to myself. So yes, affirmations help, but also this is where making sure that you're surrounded by people who uplift you it does matter. So energy, we are co-creators. So it's not only about your thoughts, but it is about the people that you're surrounded with. So we are going to dive into this. I just really wanted to make sure you understood that the root of toxic relationships starts with, yourself. Okay, so now we're going to dive into your surroundings. Let me check my little notes to make sure I stay. And I'm going to also answer questions if anything comes up. Okay, so your societal conditioning, the media that you consume, your upbringing, and your friends. So sometimes, yes, a lot of pain actually derives from childhood, but it does not benefit us to literally play over and trigger ourselves over things that might have happened in our youth, either through our upbringing or our family or our friends or our school, because what's going to happen is we're going to live so deeply in that past world that we victimize ourselves, and we won't even be able to make blessings out of the present moment. So once again, I highly recommend therapy and counseling, because there is going to be a period where diving into the past is necessary to heal. So there are multiple layers to this. You don't want to bypass anything. But what I'm saying is, as a phoenix, you have to, aspire to be reborn each day. That means understand that every experience you went through, no matter how traumatic, because Scorpios attract sometimes the most traumatic experiences ever, it fortifies you and it makes you into who you are, and you needed that to be there in this present moment. Like, it's every single thing adds up to where you are now. So the now moment is truly all that exists, and it's truly all that you should focus on in terms of healing. Okay, so we're about to get to the part that interests a lot of people, which is, what about how do you apply this to another human? Because it's true that you can be working on your own healing, but everybody has their own evolution. Everybody has their own journey. So if you've been working on addressing what hurts you and addressing your limiting beliefs and negative thoughts, but another person has not been doing the same work yet, or has been doing it through a different lens, that's where this conflict can happen. So if you've been working on loving yourself deeply, but you've attracted someone who does not yet love themselves that way, they might project their own hurt onto you. And that could lead into this cycle of destructive or toxic relationships, especially if you feel like it's up to you to save them. And Scorpios sometimes, they can be martyrs. So Jupiter in Scorpio is going to teach us to honestly set healthy boundaries. One of the things I want to talk about is we can be the kings and queens of what was I about to say? I lost my train of thought because your comments are so nice. Hold on. We can be the kings. What was I talking about? I just completely... We can be the kings and queens of cutting people off. We can be the kings and queens of being like, okay, you're out of here because I can't deal with the vibes. And it's partially good, and partially Jupiter is going to teach us to make sure that instead of being so extreme, we are actually just taking more personal time to evaluate what we're feeling and why, and not necessarily associating blame onto a certain person for it. Just kind of thanking the person for bringing up that emotion and being like, okay, so this is what you're making me feel. This is still, I can't control how others act, but I can control how I react to it. This is very interesting that this is how I feel like I need to react. So basically, if someone's being petty, for example, and you feel the need to snap back, this is something many Scorpios can struggle with, okay? Like, we sense the little microaggressions. We sense the sarcastic jokes that are supposed to be taken seriously. We sense basically any kind of hate. And so if you feel the urge to snap back immediately, or even if you pretend that you don't notice, and then in the back of your mind you're plotting a revenge, ask yourself, this is very Phoenix because I'm still working on it, okay? We're always constantly working on this. It's a work in progress. But ask yourself why you feel this urge to respond so quickly, and what this person is teaching you. And then honestly, that's the best thing, when you don't let things cause you to be so reactive. So in terms of toxic relationships, one thing I do want to say is that just as much as we don't necessarily appreciate pettiness and all that directed toward us, sometimes as Scorpios, we ourselves can be petty. Human beings have moments of pettiness, of, insecurity, of jealousy, of competitiveness. It is still a human trait. So when I was saying that we cut people off, we have to make sure that we're reflective, of ourselves. Like, are we making sure that we're not petty in our everyday situations? Like, is this kind of like a contradiction within ourselves that we cut people off so intensely, but sometimes ourselves, even if it's in our minds, we can be petty? So what's interesting is you can take time and distance from someone, but at the same time, what I recommend for cutting off is it's when it's consistent. But if it's like that person is doing it every so often, remember that we're human. Remember that sometimes you are just going to wake up in a mood that you're a little petty towards your friends. But if it's someone who's consistently undermining you, that is when I completely agree with the cutting off. But if Scorpios were to just go around cutting off everybody who we felt like some sort of annoying vibe from, then we really wouldn't be able to interact with them, with anyone, honestly. Another thing is, if your friends openly admit that they're jealous of you, keep them around. What I'm saying is, like, true friends stab you in the front. So, like, if it's normal, Scorpios are truly popping, and our life is only going to keep getting better because of Jupiter and Scorpio. So, it's normal for some people to feel a little, like, I don't know, behind. There's no need for them to compare themselves to us because they have no idea what we went through to get these rewards that are coming. So, comparison, just don't do it. In general, for you, yourself, Scorpio, like, focus on your own journey. But if your friends are honest and they're like, I admire you, like, sometimes I'm jealous of you, like, this is really, like, amazing what you're doing, that's who you want to keep around. But if you do sense vibes from someone who is either opportunistic and, like, just is, kissing your ass because they want something from you, or even someone who is, like, a frenemy, that is when you have to do two things. First, you have to ask yourself, have I always been genuinely supportive of my friend? Like, is this some vibes that I also give off? Like, am I super competitive too? Am I, like, always, on the lookout? Like, just check yourself first. And then if that's the case, you can be empathetic and still assert your boundaries, like being like, maybe we actually are spending a little too much time together and we need a little bit of space. But if it isn't the case, if it's actually that you've really been supportive and you've really been giving it your all, and you feel like the person is still, sucking your energy by just not giving you life, then yes, asserting. The sun sets so much. I really enjoy the sun on my face. Okay, let me read some of the comments. And I should also stick to my little handy dandy notebook. Do you guys get the Blue's Clues reference? Okay, all right. So that was our friends and family. Family. I know that a lot of people asked about family because that is the hardest. Oh my God, the toxic. So even my dad gave me good advice. He was like, a lot of times we say family over everything, and Scorpios really do believe in that, but we also need to understand when even family, we need healthy boundaries from. So it is actually fine to not answer every single call if you feel like you're always giving your all. It is fine to take breaks from family gatherings, especially with the holidays coming up. It is absolutely fine to protect your energy. And then once again, be more observant rather than immediately do something that's going to burn a bridge. Like, family has a lot of karmic history. Like, that's a whole other video, honestly, for cutting ties with family. But the thing about Jupiter's in Scorpio is that there's a healing aspect to this. So I'll have to do probably a second one to explain how once you've successfully been honest about the ties that need to be cut and what you've learned from them, there is always a healing aspect to it. So not all ties that are cut forever. Actually, there are plenty of ties that come back stronger because you allowed yourself the freedom to learn independently. I really think that actually in our society, and even as Scorpios, we do tend to just think that it has to be a forever thing when you end something with someone. In reality, souls connect and reconnect all the time. And we are all biologically, like scientifically, made of stardust. So I like to just think of us as like stars in the universe merging with different stars, and at different points in time you can have best friend for years, and then you go your separate ways for a while, and then who knows, at 60 you can be on the porch laughing together. And the same thing goes with love. So I'll talk about love now, because I talked about friends, I talked about family, and oh wait, let me just read the comments. There's a lot going on. Okay. Someone says sometimes you just can't connect with anyone. Why? This is a good question. And I think that does have to do with really thinking about your relationship with yourself again. So maybe you need just a little more time connecting with yourself and what you love. And while you take time to explore your passions and to put yourself first, you will find someone who connects with you. So just don't focus about finding that person. Focus on going inward. And that's the same thing for feeling lonely. Loneliness is a sign of empowerment. If you can love yourself and love spending time with yourself, and understand the richness of the world, while still opening yourself up to other people who may be potentially lonely, then you'll actually feel great when you're in a relationship. Because too often when you go into a relationship without spending enough time with yourself, that is when sometimes toxic actions can happen and manifest. So, all right, let's talk about this. All right, okay, there's so many questions, you guys. All right, let me see what I wrote in my handy dandy notebook about relationships. All right, so with relationships, there is a whole element that comes to it, because especially if there's been a sexual cord, that's truly a deep energy tie. Scorpios view sex in a very powerful way. So that's often why, along with the emotional tie, it can be much more challenging to have that more of a rational, this energy isn't good for me, I'm going to cut it off for now. So relationships, it really varies on every single partnership. I do have compatibility reports available on my site. It's like, that's my favorite type of reading. I don't like to just give like Sun and Pisces. I don't like to just talk about Scorpio and Pisces, or like Scorpio and Gemini, because you have way more than just your sun sign in your chart. But we'll talk about this later. Like, let me stay on topic. So let me talk more broadly about relationships, Scorpios, and cutting toxic ties. So all of our partners are reflections of who we are. So we may have had connections with them in a past life. We also are learning something from them. Even the most seemingly toxic relationships are often actually teaching us the most. The problem is, because Scorpios are such deep learners and investigators, sometimes we don't know our limit when it comes to learning something from someone that has deeply impacted us. So if the person has left a transformative effect on us, even if it's not the healthiest, we feel like there's still more to learn. So it's a little bit self-destructive at first, but when you do get the big aha, this is too much, when it's very empowering, because you tend to go to the other extreme. So we need to work on finding a balance so that the extremes aren't as painful, because basically what I'm saying is, we're all or nothing lovers sometimes. So when we're in, and it can honestly consume us. So this is something that will be, it depends on the kind of Scorpio that you are. Some Scorpios kind of need to rip the Band-Aid off when they realize that it's too toxic, and they are able to basically ghost someone that they've loved passionately. But sometimes that can make the healing process a bit longer, because there's a lot of unresolved trauma. Let me get some water. But honestly, the communication part in relationships is really what Scorpios have to work on, because people aren't mind readers, and we keep so much of what we're really feeling really deep inside us, and that can sometimes lead to waiting until it's a little too late before we finally express things. So as soon as you sense that a relationship is not in the healthy way that it should be, once again, start off by checking yourself. So one of the biggest things Scorpios must work on is our temper and our rage when someone has hurt us. Sometimes we say things, out of spite, and we can say things to others that we would never want said to us. So we have to check ourselves. We are triggered because of past relationships where maybe now we don't want to be hurt, and so sometimes these words come out before we even get a chance to think about it. So the first step is awareness. Yes, the Scorpio sting. The first step is awareness. And the person who can be stung by us and then still stick around, especially if we don't immediately apologize, that tends to be someone who we should truly give a chance to, and not immediately think that they're going to hurt us, because to be stung by a Scorpio, usually people run away immediately, and some rightfully so. So basically, when you keep that lens of the first toxic relationship exists within, it helps you realize, like, when you're extra suspicious, it's because a part of you believes that someone would leave you, for example, or believes that it's just something that's bound to happen. Why? You're amazing. So if you start conditioning your brain to understanding how amazing you are, if you make yourself feel amazing, so it's, getting up and doing what you want to do, like not only being focused on the object of your desires, but by really focusing on your passions and yourself, you'll attract the right kind of partners that really are drawn to you. So sometimes when we're in a relationship where both partners are enabling each other, both partners are still feeling very living in a victim-based mindset, then the toxicity mirrors itself. You keep attracting these patterns in your relationship until you start healing yourself first. And that means taking a break sometimes from a relationship. If you find that you constantly attract toxic ones, you need to take a break from them. Easily said than done, because we do enjoy intimacy. I understand that these things, can be hard. They don't have to be hard though, but it's all about the way you decide to think about it, because the number one relationship is the one you have with yourself. Okay, so I'm going to double check. Even Scorpios who are currently in a relationship, that is the best advice I could give. Scorpios and single Scorpios and couples Scorpios, during Jupiter in Scorpio, you're going to feel a deep urge to spend more time alone and get to know yourself more. Get to know the kind of lover you are. Get to know when you do say really hurtful things or do hurtful actions, and why, all through the lens of non-judgment. Because this is not about being nitpicky, but just conscious of some of your recurring thoughts and patterns in love. But yes, the gist of toxic relationships is often when partners don't feel comfortable enough with themselves, and they're seeking in someone else. They're seeking someone else to fulfill them, seeking someone else to complete them. That's not possible. That's when it gets toxic, when you have these. Wow, we're just getting so deep. But yes, when you have, any kind of pain in you that you want someone else to heal. Yes, as humans, we can heal each other, but our focus must always be to heal ourselves first. And yes, it is still possible to heal while in a relationship. It does not have to be all or nothing, but both partners have to be committed to that healing. Both partners must be willing to listen to the other's pain. So even the most cold, seemingly mean partner often is honestly inside just a little child who's hurt. Oh, Lord. This is... I didn't expect to get so deep. Okay, so I wanted to say, because I'm probably going to leave soon. Not probably. I know I'm leaving soon. I'm going to go get my daughter from daycare. Okay, so I wanted to end on these beautiful notes that I saw on Twitter. And I feel like I'm going to cry right now. Okay. Woo. All right. So I follow someone called Melanda, and she wrote, "Stop waiting for apologies. No one has the power to heal like you. No one has the power to heal you like you. What you feel is real, but what you give power to overrides that feeling. By choosing yourself, you destroy a friendly monster we all know as attachment. Choose freedom." So I think I'll have to do another video about attachments in relationships. I think that's the next thing. Like, we've addressed how toxic relationships are often a mirror of ourselves, how we have to start healing within ourselves first, how we have to know how to put like healthy boundaries without necessarily burning bridges. We can have compassion for someone, but still know that we can love them from afar. Actually, that's honestly sometimes the best kind of love, when it's too toxic. And often when they have started and committed to their healing journey, just like you have, you can reconnect. That's what the Scorpio needs to understand, that it does not have to be all or nothing, that these goodbyes and these cries can just be temporary, but you both have to focus on your well-being. But then the ones that are all or nothing, that is also for your well-being. There are some that are clearly not meant to be. There are some that is like, thank you, universe, I've learned the lesson and I got it, I'm good, like I got it. So you yourself as a Scorpio know which category people fall in, and there is a gray area. So when there's a gray area, that's when it's best to not be reactive and to just kind of do you without necessarily having to explain yourself. Yes, you can be. Too often societal things make us think that we have to tolerate certain situations. So if you're triggered by someone who you know is toxic, who you still follow on social media, or who's still in your friend group, and the only reason that you have not, distanced yourself from them through social media or socially is because of societal expectations, like, this new moon can help you just start fresh and focus on your own well-being. So press unfollow if you need to, and you can always follow back months later if you guys reconnect in a better way. Like, it does not have to be the end of the world. You have to put yourself first. I feel so good. I feel really happy. I'm glad that I did this. So it's the dark of the moon period, you guys. Release. One thing I wanted to say. I'm glad I'm saying this before I leave. We cannot spend so much time worrying about who is toxic and who's doing what to us. We have to spend a lot of time putting that energy towards our goals. Sometimes the universe will test you by putting like these distractions, like of you constantly thinking about someone who potentially did you wrong. The universe will distract you with this. But if when you find that happening and they come into your mind and you're like, well, this isn't really productive, you could actually just do something amazing, like send an email, clean your house. Like, that's a big thing. Like, often the burdens that we feel are actually physical burdens around us. And so we tie them to people, and sometimes they are linked to people. But if you take time, like I was just cleaning my closet, cleaning my daughter's room, after I get her, I'm going to clean the cupboards. If you take time to clean out that energy, you will actually feel that the emotional energy that you are also feeling, the heaviness that you feel from other people, is going to lessen and decrease as well. It's so powerful. So basically, sometimes the universe will distract you by being like, you can sit and mulk. I don't even know what sulk. You can sulk and be really mad and wonder why someone's acting a certain way. Or you can honestly invest in yourself, because once again, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, and show the universe how you deserve to be treated, because you're treating yourself that way, Oh my gosh, yeah. So you decide what happens here, Scorpio. You decide the kinds of relationships that you attract and the kinds of human that you are. And the energy that you consistently put out is the energy that you will receive. So it is okay to be petty sometimes. It is okay to, be distant, be moody, and not talk to people. It's part of our nature and you don't need to change that. But what are you consistently going to do? Are you going to consistently be a passionate phoenix? Are you going to consistently care about how your everyday actions can influence the world? Are you consistently putting out love? I know you guys put out love because you blow up my DMs with so many nice comments, and my comments on my Instagram. Like, you guys are very loving. Like, Scorpios, people, you're honestly just the most loving people I've ever met. And that love is what you deserve. So focus on that. Okay, I could keep going on forever, but basically, toxic relationships can always be healed through first healing the relationship you have with yourself, knowing your worth, knowing what you can and cannot tolerate, what you will attract in your life, and then just kind of letting your own light and love lead the way while being aware and grateful for every lesson, every person who comes into your life, because it's all serving your evolution. Okay, so I will be back soon, I guess. This was amazing. I will save this and I will post it on YouTube most likely. And thank you so much for watching, and I love you. And the new moon is tomorrow morning, so I have a free new moon guide. I've been sharing it, but I'll post it again on my IG story. It's about how you can use the power of tomorrow's new moon in Scorpio to really set clear intentions of the relationships you want, the job, the career, like the mindsets. I break down steps to manifest your dream life, and I use it all the time myself, and I've noticed it working, like amazing blessings. It first starts with doing what we did now and purging our limiting beliefs though, and then now you can be open to the magic. So have an amazing night. Stay hydrated, please. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah!